Ferguson. Hey,
Good to see
hey,
you.
everybody! It's Dr. Mother Love coming to you live and in living color, and that handsome fellow right there next to me. This is Robert Ferguson. This is
All
a
right.
guy
We
who
are
people
happy
need
to
to
be
know.
here.
If you eat, you need to talk to this guy. You need to get his book, Diet Free for Life. I mean, when you came up with something like that, tell me how all this started. I mean, what were you doing when you were like a little kid? And I mean, was this your vision?
Well, I would say yes. I would say a big
Okay,
part of it was
look,
my
it's stuff.
vision.
It was.
Uh, yeah, a lot of it was my vision, but it was based on my mom.
Mhm,
'Cause my mom was one of those ladies that did all the diets,
mhm.
and I watched her lose 100 pounds, and we all cheered. And then I watched her gain it back, and I saw the sadness and sorrow.
Oh my goodness. And
And so
that's
watching that happen again and again and again as a kid, then of course, when I learned about nutrition, I was like, my mom needs to know this.
mhm. And a
And that's
lot of
how it all
moms need to
started.
know this
Yeah.
because one of the many things that you write about in your book, Diet Free for Life, because diets don't work. I mean, that's just it. They don't work because for me, it was a lifestyle change. It was a lifestyle. And you remember me being a big girl. So, food was my familiar. I ate when I was happy. I ate when I was sad. I ate when I was mad. I ate when I was glad. And I found out I am an emotional eater. And I knew that all the different emotions that not just myself, but other women go through with emotional eating. How do we stop that pattern? What can we do? Because we're going to have to take responsibility for this and take accountability. What can we do? What do you want people to know about Robert Ferguson?
Wow. That's a big question. What do I want them to know about me?
And
Well,
you have it for your mother, but then you had to make a conscious
I'm
effort.
single. I'm single.
Okay, well, we ain't even get ready to go into that. When did that happen? You ain't even called me. I could have been introducing you to people.
Hey, just keeping it real.
Really?
Okay.
And that's all right. So now when you decided to make the conscious effort to do something about this, you had to make a push to put it out there in public. I mean, most of you think about that, your mom gaining weight, losing weight, and you see the emotions that she's
Mhm.
going through. What made you say, I need to get this out to as many people as I can? And especially this being Diabetes Awareness Month, November. And that's why I'm glad that you're going to be on with us on Tuesday at 2 o'clock so we can get some nutritional information. What is some of the worst things they tell us about food? Because, we can't keep up. First, they told us coffee was bad for us. Then they told us eggs were bad for us. Then they said no eggs are good for you.
Uh,
Oh, look, see, I had to be a memo sent out for me in caffeine. We don't do well together. We don't. Me and caffeine. It's like I get real jittery. I'm like, so just leave that alone. What? And they changed the diet pyramid. What the heck are
mhm.
we supposed to be listening to? Who do we listen to? Because we confused.
Well, I believe that we want to learn how to listen to ourselves.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like most people are aware, not all, but most people are aware that eating a handful of jelly beans is not as good for you as eating a handful of broccoli.
Uh,
Right?
you
I
went from
mean,
jelly beans to broccoli. They told us broccoli wasn't good for us. It's a guy on the internet that's saying, don't eat these 5 foods. And I'm like, what? That's why I get confused and I
right.
get frustrated.
Yeah.
And I had
So
to change my lifestyle. I can't even imagine. No, I can't imagine because a lot of people in my family are obese. That's a hard word for the Black community to embrace that you're obese. And then when the guy told me I was morbidly obese, I said, wait a minute, I know what morbid means. You mean I could die? Yeah, you can die from this. And longevity does not run in my family. And so it was a matter for me. It was a matter of life or an early death. And so I made the conscious effort to do something about it. And if it were easy, everybody could do it. What do we need to know about food?
woo. Well, number one, food is medicine, or what we call we refer to it as food as medicine.
Mhm.
So I think the first step is knowing what food is. Like most people, if you ask them, like, define what food is, most
Stuff.
people don't know.
It's what we eat. It's the fruits and vegetables and the meat and the dairy stuff and then we put all kind of wrong stuff into our body
Well,
that we think is food, like
yeah,
chocolate cake.
but let's
You know,
look at so food is literally defined as something that nurtures your body.
Okay.
It gives something to your body. It contributes toward growth, health, right? Happiness,
Hmm.
fuel. That's
Hmm.
what food is. So if you take something like high fructose corn syrup, that's not food.
No.
So it doesn't nurture the body. It literally hinders the
Hmm.
body. So I think that's the first step, is to figure out, okay, how do I navigate through life and learn to eat food that's enjoyable? Once you get that, then you know what not to consume. That's number one.
No, okay. You'll know not what not to consume because one of the, and especially on processed foods and over processed foods,
Mhm.
the first thing, and I've been in the diabetes world for a long, long time, and they were saying that okay, that high fructose corn syrup, it if it's the number one, the first ingredient on a food label, which is not food, they say stay away from that. Okay, but I would pre-venture to say 90% of the processed food, the first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup,
It's in a lot of foods, yes.
and
Yes.
especially baked goods.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
baked goods, your sodas. It's synthetic. It does come from like a natural source, say corn, but the way it's processed in our bodies doesn't use that for fuel. It literally, like, one of the big challenges we have right now is a rapidly increasing health condition called fatty liver.
we've been hearing a lot about that.
Yeah, and it's getting worse, which is interesting because if you go back to 1979, no one had non-alcoholic fatty liver. The only people who had fatty liver were people who drank a lot of alcohol.
Hmm. Hmm.
Today, you have alcoholic fatty liver. Well, above that, you have non-alcoholic fatty liver that came out of nowhere. People don't even drink alcohol, but they got fatty liver. You have hepatitis, contributes to fatty liver. And right now, non-alcoholic fatty liver is about to surpass that. Um,
It's gotten that bad.
it's bad. So in 10 years, when it comes down to getting like liver transplants, the primary reason people are going to be getting transplants is going to be fatty liver. This is where
Non-alcoholic or alcoholic? Non-alcoholic.
non-alcoholic, and this is where it's really scary right now. Most people have no idea they have it, and if they do have an idea, the doctors are nonchalant about it. So fatty liver, you have stage 1, then you have stage 2, it starts to become more inflamed. Stage 3, you're almost at a place where you can't turn it around. Then cirrhosis of the liver, and you're in line. The big challenge we have right now is that people who need to get a liver transplant, most of the people that die and maybe they donated their organs, guess what? They have fatty liver. So you
And
can't
that
even
can't be
use the
donated.
liver.
Can
So
you
we don't
can't
have a lot
donate a
of,
fake
yeah,
liver?
we don't have healthy livers.
Oh, see, and that's what's scary, and I don't want anybody to be afraid of food. My When I was making my transition to better health, one of the things I have, and I've always said this: if I can't pronounce it, I'm not eating it. Because if I can't pronounce it, I'm eating chemicals. I might as well be scraping up dirt off the bottom of somebody's shoe because none of that is going to be nutritionally sound. And when you talk to people, especially people who are having food insecurities, I never would have thought we would have put those words together. Food insecurity. That means you're hungry. That means you don't have access to the right foods. And even when you do, you might have too much month at the end of your money, and then how you gonna feed yourself and your kids? And that's when they go to the processed food because they know it'll fill you up. But that's the part. One of my girlfriends, God rest her soul, she raised her 3 children out of a fast food restaurants.
Mm.
Never. They say only time they ate Thanksgiving dinner was when they came to our house because Mama don't cook, and it is that becoming a big problem because people are not cooking because
Yeah.
maybe they don't know what food is. I don't know what the deal is. What is up with that? People don't want to cook, especially
Well,
in
I mean, if
California.
you go back to 1900, 5% of the time people ate outside of the house. So 95% of the time you were eating at home and you were eating food that you made.
Hmm.
Well, with the Industrial Revolution and where we are today, and the convenience of getting food anywhere that you're driving, then more people are eating outside even more. And then this is where it gets really crazy, mother love. We're eating at home, but we're eating outside.
And you know what? And I get that.
Yep,
We'll
Grubhub.
bring the fast food home,
That's right.
and you
Grubhub,
have. I'm like,
DoorDash. You don't even got to
oh, and you
leave.
ain't even got. See,
So you're
you
eating
don't
out,
even
but
have to
eating
leave
home.
the house. You can have
Exactly.
them bring it right to you. You don't have to make any kind of effort. And I think that's going to be dangerous for us, and especially for the younger people. They were doing a study that said that one out of is it 1 out of 2 now? Children born in the year 2000 will develop type 2 diabetes in their lifetime.
Hmm.
As if we don't have enough millions of people that are dealing with this. And now we got to deal with pre-diabetes, because if you don't step back and start doing things, this is just going to escalate. Now they're talking about we got a third diabetes. That's those of us who are caregivers for people that have a chronic condition. And when you deal, especially with older people,
That's
I'm
right.
gonna eat what I want
Alzheimer's.
to eat. I don't care what you say. It's just a little sugar. Okay, no, it's not, people. How many times have we heard that? And how do we circumvent that, especially when we want to keep our relatives, keep them well, get them well? I don't want to eat no rabbit food. I don't know. Lettuce was rabbit food, and they say stuff to justify them overeating. And
Well, well, I think a lot of people don't know how to eat.
say that again. People don't know how to
They
eat.
don't know how to eat.
Okay. Okay, you got some splaining to do now, Mr. Ferguson. Because we all
if
know how to eat.
no,
But
no, no, they don't. Right. So, like, think about it. You have fasting, intermittent fasting. You've heard of that, right?
yes, I heard of
Okay.
that.
So I went on that TV show called The Doctors,
Okay, yes,
and
I've seen you on there with them.
we did a debate on intermittent fasting versus eating.
Hmm.
And my answer initially was the only people that recommend intermittent fasting are people who don't know how to eat. And here's my point. So if you have 100 people that do intermittent fasting and they all lose weight, and then you have 100 people on the other side that eat breakfast every day, they don't do intermittent fasting,
Hmm.
and they lose weight. If both sides are losing weight, then wouldn't it come down to like, well, I prefer to eat, or maybe you don't want to eat? I like to eat personally. So I know that you can get the same results, if not better, by learning how to eat. And so
And
the
when you
cop out is intermittent fasting. Don't eat.
what? Okay, see, I don't really understand intermittent fasting. They say you like don't eat for like hours, and then
Mhm.
you eat a whole big plate of food. Okay, but
Well,
that sounds to me like you're defeating the purpose of fasting.
well,
See,
you're
I
fasting.
can't fast. I
Well,
can't. As a person with type 2 diabetes, I've been here laying on the floor someplace. I
right.
have to eat like every 3 hours, and I have to take my time to eat. That's probably why I didn't gain a lot of weight growing up, because I always was a slow eater. And I turned my head, my brothers and them, and took all my chicken off the plate. You eating, you don't want that. Let me just get it. And people
Well, I
don't
think
like it.
intermittent fasting
Yeah.
gives a person some structure.
Okay. How
Same as
does that work though? Or it's supposed to work?
well, you're just not all right. Look, if you said I'm only going to eat for 8 hours a day, then that means you're sleeping for another 16 hours.
Mhm.
You're not eating. So that's controlling the amount of food you consume, which is going to help with weight loss.
Okay.
It gives you some structure. People need boundaries, they need rules. Otherwise, you're just failing. You're just kind of just all over the place.
Hmm.
And so intermittent fasting gives some structure, but it doesn't educate you on how to eat. So eventually, you're going to not do intermittent fasting and you're going to want to eat breakfast with your friends. You're going to want to go and eat outside of the window that you said I'm only going to eat in. And so once that happens, then it's helpful to know how to eat. So what you
I'm
see what I mean?
beginning
Like
to understand that. Okay. Go
you,
ahead.
well, I'm just saying. So it comes down to like you can either continue to be uninformed,
Hmm.
which is unfortunately most people, and then intermittent fasting will work for those people who don't want to learn how to eat. But
How
then
do
some of us want to learn, and so
I
I'm
want to
into
learn how to
teaching
eat?
people how
So,
to eat.
and how food as medicine. And
Yes.
we were taught that growing up. I'm a baby boomer, and they taught that, and we didn't have the luxury of eating cereal out of a box that's coated with stuff that's not really sugar, and we didn't have that. You had to get up and make breakfast every day, feed the kids, going to school. You
Mhm.
can't send a child off to school hungry. Their brain is not going to function properly. And is breakfast still the most important meal of the day?
I believe. I could argue that it's the most important meal.
Okay.
I
Because
could
that,
argue
and
that.
people think that when you say break breakfast, that it's got to be cereal, bacon, eggs, it's got to be that kind of stuff. I got up and ate collard greens and candy sweet potatoes, the next day. It still broke my fast. And because I'm putting in different fuel, because I'm not a vegetarian, but we don't eat red meat and pork. And I don't eat very, very like this many much dairy because I'm dairy intolerant. And a lot of people don't pay attention when their body is telling them, you can't digest this stuff. It's not
Mhm.
going to go through your system well. And we still keep doing it. I was talking to one of my friends. She is a diabetes research scientist at the Keck School of Medicine. And we were talking about the obesity problem in our young people. And I kept saying, I mean, but they're just like massive. You see some of these young men and women. I mean, the dude's got man boobs. The chick got a shelf on the back of her butt. And I said, what is the deal? And she said, the human body only has a finite number of fat cells. And when you're putting in too much energy, you putting in too much fuel, it's going to spill over and go someplace. It's not what you're going to do, cut yourself to keep the fat out. No. And so I said, you only got a finite number of fat cells. And we keep trying to feed those fat cells. And then when you stop with the intermittent dieting, that didn't even sound right, intermittent dieting. But when that's the case, and they do start eating, that seemed to me that would give them a tendency to overeat because, oh my God, I haven't eaten in 12 hours. Let me just eat all this till how does the human body be able to digest that with all them chemicals in it?
Well, one, when you go long periods of time without eating, your
Mhm.
body does acclimate to that, right? It's if you have a crying baby, it'll cry and cry and cry and cry because it's hungry.
Right.
But if you can stay the
Or they're
course,
full of poop,
eventually that baby will stop crying, even though it's hungry.
because and who would let their big crying baby go hungry? You know when it's time
Well, I
to
mean, that would be very unfortunate. But the point being, you can get used to going long periods of time without eating.
and that just doesn't
But
make a lot
again,
of sense because your body needs fuel. That's like trying to drive your car all the way to Vegas and you only got a quarter tank of gas. How you think you're gonna
yeah,
get there?
but there's a lot of people that make it make sense, and they influence a lot of other people to do it because they feel like, okay, I'm going to do that. That'll work for me, and they just get in the habit, not knowing that they may be causing more damage to their body by not eating specifically as you mature in life and are over the age of 50.
Uh, when you talk about we don't know how to eat, how ought we be eating?
Well, one, I love the idea of 3 meals in a day
Hmm.
because if you can get in 3 meals and get used to that, then you're constantly fueling your body. There's nothing but benefits to it.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that one point back in the day in certain parts of life, you just have to deal. If you don't have access to food, maybe the weather is so bad you can't get out. Maybe there was no food saved and we had to make it through the winter. But at the end of the day, if you can get 3 meals a day, that's a benefit. And with those meals, the closer you eat food that's closer to nature,
Hmm.
the better. So that means the less processed food, the more you're going to nurture your body instead of taking away from it.
And a lot of times, the food that people are eating is not helping their bodies at all. I mean,
No,
we went to a
because it's not even
yeah,
food.
it's not. We went to a slaughterhouse one time, and this was even before I stopped eating meat. We went to a slaughterhouse, and I mean, they got the cows hung upside down with the hooves. They got the pigs over here. They slaughtering them all up, and then they take the scraps that are on the floor that are on the machines. They take that. I'm telling y'all, what the kids say. I synced it with my own too. They take the scraps and make hot dogs and bologna and lunch meat. Do they even still call it lunch meat? Cold cuts. You could tell
Okay.
where I'm from. And it's like, okay, you picking up stuff off the floor, the scraplings of these animals, and then you processing it over and over again because it always seems like it just come down to what's my bottom line? How much can we stretch this, and how much can we convince people to eat this, even though we know that this is bad for us?
Hmm.
We know it. I worked with the American Diabetes Association for many, many years, and I'm going to always be there because there's so many of us that I'm thriving. there's so many people who are not, and they don't know how to get off that hamster wheel. They say, I can do this. Well, then get off the hamster wheel. Well, I might fail. Yeah, you might if you think that's what you're going to do. You're right. You're
Right.
probably right. You won't, because it is a mindset. Getting to that place is what's difficult. And especially if you've never seen that. If you've never
Now,
seen
now
healthy
would
meals coming
you?
on your table.
So let me ask you: would you agree that it takes a certain aptitude to be able to learn how to eat?
I would think so. The first thing would be the mindset change and knowing
Yeah.
what real
Well.
food is. Because now this is what the elder said. Baby, whatsoever you need to eat, God done provided for you and come out the ground. All you got to do is go rinse it off. Everything God meant for you to eat, you can eat it raw.
Mhm.
I went, really? And we ate a lot of raw vegetables. And I didn't even think about that when I was a kid. It was nothing to come home and you got a big giant salad on the table. I always thought it was pretty. It was inexpensive though. And she could feed a lot of us. And people don't want to do that anymore. And I think taking cooking out of the home for the most part has really been detrimental
Mhm.
to us as far as our nutrition is concerned in this country. When you got people that's sick at 16 and they got to deal with type 2 diabetes, real, teenagers teenagers make you understand why some species eat their young. And then they want, well, I don't want to, I don't want to eat. And people are actually allergic to food. When you were growing up, were you allergic to eating anything that you ate?
No.
We didn't have
No.
food allergies. Really?
No. 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 We have more food allergies today. There's quite a few theories on that.
Mhm.
I think, like for instance, when I was a kid, you ate what they put on your plate,
You had no choice.
and and at that point, it put you in a position where your gut was introduced to various types of foods. Whereas today, a lot of kids don't eat peanut butter like we did growing up. So that's why when you get on the plane, they never really serve peanuts anymore because there's always more than one person that has a peanut allergy.
Is that what happened to my peanuts on the flight?
That's what happened. Yeah.
Well, I just
So
will.
not good.
Because somebody might think,
Not good at all.
we found out that our grandson was, when he was little, and you give kids, introduce them to different foods. And it's peanut butter. You know what? So I gave him, he asked me what was I eating. I said, it's peanut butter. I guess he liked the way it sounded. So he said, I want to taste it. And I tell him, try new foods. Try new foods. Don't just think that you have to eat the standard American diet and they don't even know what the heck that is. And
Right.
gave him, it wasn't even a whole teaspoon. Next thing I know, I hear this child wheezing. I got around the kitchen counter. His head is about as big as my thigh. I am like, oh my God. We racing to the emergency room. And this is what the doctor, oh, don't worry about it. His breath was being cut off. His throat was, he said, oh, don't worry about it. He's just having a peanut allergy. And I went, allergy to
It's like,
food?
what?
What? And that's what the problem is. And even if I'm eating peanuts and I go to kiss him, I could break him out. I thought he might have outgrown it. I don't know. He in his 20s, so who knows what happened. But nonetheless,
Right.
what the standard American diet. Remember, we grew up. They told us this the food pyramid. You don't eat this many foods up here. You eat the base foods down here, and then they flipped it over and said, "Okay, no, this is what we want you to do." How do we, the regular people who go into the grocery store, are able to discern what is the right message for us? How do we eat right? What should we be looking for?
Well, I mean, that's a really big question there,
That's what I do,
Mother
baby.
Love.
You know me. That's what I do.
Well, I mean, it's like I wish it was that easy, right? Because you got to look at a person's situation, what do they have access to?
Mm-hmm.
Some people can only get food at the food bank.
You're right.
Some people can only afford to go to certain stores, or maybe they live in an area where they don't have that much of an
Mm-hmm.
access. And then some people have full access to
And
everything.
still don't
So I
do right.
think right. So I think it's a big part of the big challenge is how do you meet everybody where they are
Mm-hmm.
and put them in a position where they can win.
And you agree that this diet free for life. I love the title. Um, Diet free for life. What
Hmm.
what are we be getting from that when you say diet free for life? Because the diet industry in this country is probably in the billions of dollars that they make every year. This one works, that one works, then none of them work. That's why I think it's
Right.
important when you said having the wherewithal to be able to understand and be willing to learn how to eat food, and also how to prepare food. A lot of people think they got to cook a collard green till it's like mush in your mouth. I'm like, you do know you can eat this raw, right? So why would you
Right.
put all this other stuff and make it like smush, And we used to say, think our mother wasn't cooking the food all the way through, because we would eat like she fixed food and she didn't cook them down to no end. And then we would go to other people's houses and it was like eating green applesauce because it was just like no green, nothing to chew left. People, when you talk about learning how to do it, learning to make food as medicine. See, I want to
Right.
get on the page so I can help people understand where you are and where they are, so that they can be, because everybody don't want to be helped. Unfortunately, they'd rather be sick because that's what's familiar with them, or they don't feel like this. Is the one that bothers me. A lot of people don't feel like they deserve to be in good health. They don't.
Hmm.
Well,
Well,
why
I
should
mean,
I?
there's a lot of
Hmm. Go ahead.
well,
No.
there's a lot of truth to that. But then I mean, I think most people, if you sit and talk to them,
Mhm.
most people would say that they
Oh, I'm
want to be
just
healthy,
sweating. Wait a minute. This a hot.
right?
It's a hot.
So most people want to be
Uh
healthy.
huh.
I think most people just don't know how to do it.
So how do we do that? How do we, get people to understand the importance of changing their diet? And when they hear that, it was like, you're taking away all the stuff that I'm familiar with. But that's not the case.
No, it's not. No,
So,
it really is. I mean, there's a learning curve,
mhm,
right? So we could get on here every week and go, okay, let's teach people how to make a meal,
mhm.
or what I call a fat burning meal. Um, and then
Wait, what's
once
a
they
fat
learn how
burning meal?
is when you put your foods together,
Mhm,
you combine your foods in a way that you balance both insulin,
mhm,
the hormone, and
mhm.
glucose throughout the day. That's what we call a fat burning meal.
And you'll be burning fat as long as you pretty much for the changing your lifestyle. We always hear about fruits and vegetables, and then they throw in the smoothies and the juices and all these supplements and what have. What's your take on supplements? They're not regulated by the FDA. Did you know that?
Well, very loose regulation on
When
supplements.
you read them,
Yeah.
they're not regulated like other drugs. They,
Oh
they
no,
really don't have
no, they're not.
and they
No,
really don't have
very
to. And I think that's unfair because how do you know what's a good supplement and what's not? You know.
well. Most people take supplements and they don't really know why they take supplements, right? So if I ask the average person, and maybe you can represent the average people, like, what is a multivitamin and why do you take one?
Because I'm not
Like, what is
eating enough nutritionally sound food to get those nutrients inside of my body to work. But they don't go that far.
okay? But think about what you just said. So if a person is choosing a multivitamin because they feel like they have nutrition gaps, then you're gonna fill the gap that would be handled by real food
Mhm.
with something that's manufactured in the factory.
And you're still not doing a good job doing anything good for your body because
Right.
we
So
don't
that
know
doesn't
what's in
even
the
make sense.
supplements. We don't know. They're
Right.
not. They're not regulated like other medications. And then they say, "Well, we're not a medication." Okay, well, what we'll supplement. We'll supplement your vitamins and your minerals and your folic acid. And I don't think a lot of people even know what the human body needs to keep the right fuel in. And that's why a lot of them just say, it's too much work. It takes too much time. See, I'm sweating like a
Well, it's too much confusion because everybody's saying something different.
and you don't know who to believe. And you don't know
Right.
what to
So
believe. And there are always these health experts that want to come and tell you, well, what about this? And that's what I appreciate about what you do, because you are teaching us in this realm with real food, with things that grow in the garden. You could pull it off a tree, you could pull it out the vine, ranch it off. And I used to eat raw potatoes when I was a kid. Did I just tell him that? And my mother would say, why do you keep biting out the potatoes and then put it back in the bin? I'm like, well, I couldn't eat the whole potato. She was like, "You gotta stop eating raw potatoes. This is just not making any sense." She didn't care that I was eating them. She just cared because I kept biting them and putting them back in the bag. And then she knew it was me. She knew it was me. Teeth prints. But when people are going on a weight loss program, oftentimes they think, oh, and especially if they got a sweet tooth, oh, I'll never be able to eat cake again. I'll never be able to have pie. And that's just not the case. You can
Right.
have cake, you can have pie, you just don't even you don't need to eat a big chunk of the cake. And I think that's another thing where Americans get, this whole thing about overeating. I think the worst thing in America, and Lord knows I had to learn this, buffets. And they tell you you pay X amount of dollars and you can eat all you want. Okay, but the human stomach is not big enough for you to eat all you want. You're gonna sit there and you're gonna be stuffing yourself. And then they keep going
That's
back a second. See, that's why when I was going to the buffet, I would take my tinfoil and just wrap it up, put it in my mouth. Did I just
true.
Well, I did. And my husband, he'd be like, what have you put in your pocketbook? I said, well, I couldn't eat all of it. Well, what did you order for? Well, they said all you could eat. So that's what turned me around and turned me away from, not really away from restaurants, but mostly from buffets, because you don't know who's been breathing over there. Those are safeguard things that they're supposed to keep the food protected. You don't know what kind of germs they're bringing in there. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go home and cook. And I'm a pretty darn good cook too. They keep asking me to make a cookbook. I'm like, oh, that's work. I ain't trying to do all of that.
And do you still cook? So you still do a lot of cooking?
I do all the cooking. I do all the cooking. Every now and then, my husband, he can fix breakfast. He can make scrambled eggs, and he can fry egg, and he can make some turkey sausage, and he can pour some juice. That's about it. Put a big fire up under. He be done burned down my kitchen. No. Some people don't need to be anywhere near a stove under any circumstances. And I said, that was one of the things that attracted me to him many, many years ago. He was go over to his apartment, smoke is coming out like the kitchen is on fire. And my husband's a very hairy guy. He's standing up here over the kitchen. He got a big giant pound of hamburger in the skillet. He done smoked up the whole house, and you have on no shirt. I said, you know what? I'll fix this for you. That's okay. You go get finished dressing, and I'll make this for you. And he ain't stopped eating my cooking yet. Cause and I cook cleanly for him. He goes to the doctor, for his annual fit. That's enough.
Right.
Why are people so afraid of the doctor? Okay, if you got
Well,
to hurt someplace, or something is going on that doesn't feel right, why would you not go to the doctor? Because he's going to tell you some
right.
bad news. What if he tell you good news? What if he say that cramp in your stomach is just that? A cramp in your stomach, you got gas. Here, take an antacid. You don't know. And I think a lot of times what we don't know can hurt us, especially people with diabetes. Because, in my family, they felt like they could eat whatever they wanted to, drink how much liquor they wanted to drink, smoke as many cigarettes as they wanted to smoke, and didn't think it was going to affect their health. And it affected them adversely. Adversely. And that's why the biggest thing for me is I want to be around for my grandkids. I want to be around to see my nieces and nephews grow up, and see what kind of progress they can make. One of our nephews is he is a he is a dietitian. He's a
Mhm.
nutritionist. He work with food. That's what he does. He tell people how to work for food with food, and he has type 2 diabetes, and he takes really really good care of himself. They used to say, "Oh, he's not good." They told my mother the same thing about my little sister. "Oh, she probably won't make it through high school. She graduated from high school. Oh, she probably won't make it to her 21st birthday." And every other year was like some kind of doomsayer thing. She lived to be 53 years old, and she had diabetes since she was 9 or 10 years old. So I thought that was a pretty good run for somebody who had been dealing with that disease for a long time. And like we're starting to see more young people developing diabetes. And what would you say to parents, grandparents, and caregivers and guardians about how they can change the people who they're in charge of, change their food and their eating habits so that they don't come down with these chronic diseases?
Again, that's a
I know
that's a
that's
big
tough.
question. I mean, it's tough because you I mean, we could say a lot of things, but it's really showing people how to do it,
And
right? So how to make a balanced meal, but with foods that they would normally eat themselves.
like what? Let me have one of your fat burning menus, because I'll go
Okay,
and copy that
so
right.
today I picked my daughter up from school
Mhm,
and I said, "What do you want?" And that was to eat. And she goes, "Can we go to In-N-Out Burger?" And I said, "Yeah,"
mhm,
because I was hungry also.
mhm,
So we went to In-N-Out Burger and she wanted a shake, which I got her a shake,
mhm,
and I wanted a meal. So what did I do? I had a burger. So you had the patty, which is a protein.
mhm,
You had the top and bottom of the bun. That's a fast carb in our what we teach. And then it had like pickles, some onions, some lettuce. That's all in what we call a slow carb family.
mhm.
Had a little bit of sauce, which is a condiment, and that was my meal.
And you
Now,
count all of those.
if you notice, I didn't say a burger with
No,
fries.
you did not.
I just said I had a burger. And so that's a fat burning meal. But where people go wrong is when you double up on the fast carbs. So bread with fries adds inches to the thighs.
Yes. I'm walking with that one, Brett. It's gonna be on the thighs. Yes, it does. There's a reason for that. And they'll do the same thing with a salad. You ever seen people go and go to the salad bar and they make this nice salad and then they put like a cup and a half of salad dressing on top of it?
Mhm.
I'm like, you just took away all the nutritional value in this. Well, it tastes good, yeah. But what they used to say, a moment on the lips, forever on the hips. See, I got
That's right.
one. And we're not conscious of that. We're not conscious of how do we take care of our body. Yeah, we know we're going to die, but I want to die healthy. I want to drop dead doing something that I absolutely love to do. Okay, never mind about that part. Okay, but I'm just saying, because I want to continue to live well, and I want to get as much information and knowledge as I can, because when you're in an authoritative position, people think you know everything. And I thought, I don't know everything, but I know everything else. I know you about nutrition and about food and about making sure that your plate is colorful. They'll have the potatoes, they'll have the meat, they'll have gravy, then they want to eat and drink at the same time. What is your thought on that? Because I had heard what I had heard from the ADA. They said that we shouldn't eat and drink at the same time. You shouldn't have any liquid with your food, because when you're chewing and drinking, you washing away the enzymes that start the digestive process in your mouth. And most people, yeah, right. So there's a rule at our house. When you eat at our house, you can either drink it before you eat and wait 30 minutes, or you can wait 30 minutes after you finish with the meal. No liquids are on the table at all. Not even water. Sit down and take it. And this is another one. People race to eat. They rush through it. I know you know something about that. The fact that when people eat really fast, what happens?
Well, I mean, well, if you eat really fast, you're more likely to overindulge, right? Because your body actually is communicating with your brain.
Mhm.
There's this whole gut brain axis taking place. And so when you eat slower, you tend to find yourself, you won't eat as much compared to someone who eats faster. And when it comes to liquids, like I grew up in a household where we didn't drink liquids while we're eating a meal. However, I strongly recommend that everyone drink a cup of water 10 to 15 minutes before a meal.
Mhm.
And there's a biological reason for that. It actually helps the body stay in fat burning mode instead of what they call fat storage mode. So,
I've heard that as well, and
yeah.
and that's why I said I drink my body weight in water every day. So I know where every bathroom between Pasadena and the LAX airport is.
Mhm.
Hey, it's mother love. I gotta go. I gotta go. Can I just let me use the bathroom? And we don't flush our system out. And people that say, "Oh, I can't drink water," or "I don't like water." Where does water have a taste?
Well, water is our friend. Actually, you mind if I grab me a water?
Go and grab your water while I'm sopping up my forehead. Because that's the one thing. And because I eat so slow, I eat so slow, it'll take me, when you say, try to get 3 meals in a day.
Mhm.
Okay. I eat breakfast every day. whatever it is I'm breaking my
Okay.
fast with, and I eat off a smaller plate. I don't eat off the big plate. I eat off of it's like the salad plate. And when when you sit there, and people always say that's not gonna get you full. Well, if it take me 20 minutes, because they said what the stomach doesn't know you're full until the brain tells you, because your brain got
Yeah.
to communicate with the other parts of your body. And so
Right.
if when you eat slow, and I know this for a fact, when you eat slow, I don't eat as much. It takes me like maybe 4 hours to finish that breakfast, because I'll eat it, I'll digest it, I'll wait, and I don't want to feel that stuffiness anymore. And I wait, then I'll go back. I can eat all kind of food cold now. I don't even have to heat it up. I just eat it just like that. It's cold spaghetti, rice. It doesn't matter to me, because food is food. And one of the things they kept saying is don't eat foods that are too hot, not spicy, but too hot. What is the science behind that? Eating something that's too hot?
Well, I mean, I like food that's hot. I like food that's spicy.
Oh, you
So
do.
if anything, yes, there's a thermogenic effect of spicy food, which means that you're literally burning more calories
Hmm.
when you have something that's hot. I mean, it's a minute amount, but there is a benefit to it. So I like spicy food because I like the taste of it.
Hmm. Now, do you
I don't
cook
have
though? You
I
cook
cook like breakfast, lunch, dinner pretty
snacks.
regularly.
We gotta do everything. What are you gonna
Yes,
do? What are you
I
gonna?
like to cook.
It's like therapy. It really
Hmm.
is like therapy. Because when you're cooking, you don't really have time to be thinking about anything outside of what's going into that recipe. How are you putting the food together? Like I said, it's like therapy for me, because and I do a lot of baking. I don't eat a lot of baked goods. My husband likes them, and the kids like my pound cake. If there's not a pound cake up under a dish in my house someplace, they'll look at me like, so what's up with you? What a cake? Now they'll eat my because all it is it's all the stuff. And I want to get away from white sugar. I'm like minimalist with that, and I'm learning to use other sweeteners that are not artificial. When we hear about that, what is recommended for us as a substitute for sugar? I don't know. I'm talking about uh, uh, the chemical stuff that they make,
Right,
like
the
the
artificial
Splenda and
sweeteners.
all of that stuff.
Mhm.
You know,
So the question is, I
what
mean,
can you use to substitute?
I would recommend you use regular sugar,
Mhm,
like when you cook. Like if you're gonna cook something and it asks for sugar, just use sugar.
mhm.
The only one right now, as we are talking, that has no negatives is allulose. So ALLULOSE,
Allulose.
and that's an alternative. It's actually demonstrated to improve HDL, which is your healthy cholesterol.
Mhm,
It's health is gut friendly for the gut, whereas
mhm.
all the other artificial sweeteners have shown negative impact on our gut health.
We've been hearing a lot about it happens in your gut. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, they got all the commercials on, take this, drink this little juice and that we have a scabillion, what is it that's in our system, in our gut? I'm
The
having,
microbes,
yeah,
the
yeah,
bacteria.
it was coming to me. It was like right here. Microbiotics. We have a lot of those. And what is the push for that? Can you share that with us? The push for, mhm.
Are you talking about the gut microbiome?
Yeah, the gut, because I mean we've been hearing a lot about that lately,
Hmm.
and a couple of doctors that I've gone to have been trying to do this, mother love, take this one. I'm like, it just sounds like to me you just want me to keep buying your product. So am I going to learn from that? Am I going to get a healthy gut, or is that just another just an advertising ploy?
I would say another advertising ploy
Tell the truth, shame
because
the devil.
I mean your gut. Not Aristotle, but Hippocrates, the father of modern day medicine,
Right.
he said that all disease begins in the gut,
And when you think
and
about it,
we're
it does.
starting to see that as
That's not.
at this very moment in time.
And we've all had the same stomachs, and we have the same, our inner parts haven't like moved around or anything, but they
Mhm.
see. And I'm what is the the benefit of gut health is to make sure that the whole body is working together in tandem with all the other parts. And people always act like, well, I got a bad heart. Well, okay, that's not like a separate part of your body. That's a major organ that you need to be focused on. You just can't pick, oh, well, my brain is sick, oh, my leg. It's one unit, and we have to tend to all of it. And sometimes it can be really overwhelming. And especially when I just got through a bout of sciatica. Never even thought about sciatica. Didn't even, woke up one day and could not walk. I literally
Mm.
could not walk. And I was fine the day before. I had a good time with my family. We all had a good time. And I got up on July, I'll never forget. I woke up on July the 5th to go to the bathroom and I could not walk. And I go to the doctor and he said, oh, like it's no big deal. He goes, oh, you're having a bout with sciatica. That is extremely painful. And then I was trying to ask them, what was the cause of this? I mean, it just came on me all of a sudden. What was the cause of that? I don't know. We don't know. There's no cure for it. You just got to wait it out. And I don't think we waited out. And one of the things I made sure was, even though I was having a really, really hard time, I made it through it. God is good. I could get up. I'm not on a cane. They had me all, I was feeling like the bionic woman there. Wasn't nothing working. And I'm 100% back to my mother love self. I can even skip if I wanted to, but I don't need a hip replacement. But if I did, and just to make sure that we can get the information, tell people how they can get Diet Free for Life, the book, and the
Uh,
protocol.
well, I would say contact us at dietfreelife.com.
Mm-hmm.
Just go there. If you got questions, we're here to help, provide answers, connect you. You can connect with us on other social media platforms,
Mm-hmm.
but just dietfreelife.com. That's a good place to start.
One of people don't seem to, and you break it down into regular understandable English where you can take what you read in the book and you could make it applicable in your life, like that day, that moment, if you wanted to. And I appreciate the
Mhm.
fact that it makes sense. And it's not like a lot of nutritionists will go over a person's head and you don't know what they're talking about, and you're sitting there like, I'm just doomed for this. And no, we're not. There's a way through this. Now, what sets your program apart from other people who are in the industry? Because you're like diet free for life, not going another diet in life.
Well, what makes us uniquely different is that we're evidence based and clinically proven. So there's a lot of evidence base out there,
Hmm.
but there's not many that are clinically proven. So we're clinically proven, which means we've had third parties as part of our testing,
Hmm.
where the outcome is the same for all the people who participate.
Now, how is
So
that?
not like
When everybody's metabolism is different? How are you able to wrangle in those? Because we all are different. I mean,
Mhm.
does it work with the human body? Period. Doesn't matter, how old you are or anything like that. Just get in there and do it.
I would say both.
Okay.
So everyone, our metabolism is different for each person. So we got that.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone will benefit from eating in a way where they don't have elevated levels of insulin throughout the day. So we look mostly at the hormone insulin, where most other diets are looking at sugar or
Mm-hmm.
glucose only.
And they work.
So we've known that if you can get insulin under control, you automatically take control of the glucose.
Wait a
But
minute.
if
Oh,
you're
wait. What? Wait. You got to back that up. Say that again. Say that again.
we focus primarily on helping people optimize their insulin response
Mm-hmm.
instead of most diets look at the glucose response. So as people are focusing on sugar, we're focusing on insulin. And if you get the insulin under control, you automatically get the glucose under control. But if you get the glucose under control, you don't even realize it, but the insulin's not under control.
So
Right. So for all these years you've gone to the doctor, I doubt if they always have checked your fasting insulin, but I would guarantee they always check your fasting glucose.
no, and you are right about that. I come to think of it, I don't think I ever had one of them ask me about my insulin intake. I always been,
Mhm.
when I take my blood sugar, is to check the blood sugars, to check my glucose, and then the numbers can go all over the place, and and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. How can I, wake up and my blood sugar, I take my blood sugar and it's 110. And then if I take it 2 or 3 hours later, it's 110. And I'm like, okay, it's like almost I didn't put the fuel in my body, but I know that I'm doing that. And so that's my goal, to keep my fasting glucose. But see, I have never been on insulin. And so what they've said that I have is insulin resistance. My body
Mhm.
still makes insulin, but it's still resisting. I mean, I've gotten a lot better at it, and I feel a lot better because I can feel the difference. It's not so much about physically losing the weight as it was about getting all that extra weight off of me, so that when I got to 50, 60, or 70, I wouldn't have to be in a wheelchair on crutches because I've got the excess weight off. Because your body can only bear so much extra weight for a finite number of time, a finite length of time, because eventually it's going to break down on you. So why
Mhm.
wouldn't you put the best premium gas in your tank? Now you'll go out there, buy you a Mercedes Benz or a Cadillac and put the best thing in it. Take care of it like a baby. But you gonna eat up everything on the menu, but thank you, call again. Mm-mm. It's gotta find some kind of balance there. It's gotta find.
Right.
So this being Diabetes Awareness Month, what would you like to say to the people who are, they still skeptical, they still got diabetes, or they've been diagnosed with pre-diabetes, to be able to back away and embrace diet free for life?
Well, today I would say, and this is based on 92% of the people that we meet,
Mhm.
mother love, that are type 2 diabetic. In 12 to 15 months, they're no longer diabetic.
Oh, see, now you done said some big, giant, manly man stuff. Their diabetes can
Mhm.
be reversed, and the endocrinologist will never tell you that. They've always said there's no cure for
They're
diabetes.
slowly but surely they're
They're
starting
starting
to.
to get it.
Yeah, because about what 4 years ago, the Lancet came out, which is one of the premier medical journals in the world,
Mhm,
and they actually, validated me because I've been saying this for years, and they
mhm.
said in the journal that you can reverse type 2 diabetes. So I believe
Wait,
that was in 2000.
so they are getting it. So it can be reversed,
Well,
but you know
they're
what?
getting it at the high level, but then you got to
Mhm.
get down to like the endocrinologist level right now.
Oh,
Are they reading? Are they staying up to date on the journals? You know what I mean? Are they, because they're basically teaching what they were indoctrinated to teach. And they were indoctrinated to believe that you can never reverse type 2 diabetes. So the old
and
school, the old timers, they're not hearing what you and I are saying, but then
oh, not at all.
you have to give them the evidence. Here's the
Right.
Lancet, here's Nature, here's Cell, here's the New England Journal, and then they read it and they go, huh.
Oh,
Then
I've
finally
had that.
they may wake up at that point, but most
I've
will
had
never
that
wake up.
experience with my endocrinologist before, and I'm sure you're familiar with the American Diabetes Association's
Mhm.
the scientific sessions that they have. And I
Yep.
first time I ever walked into one, because I'm out here beating the pavement. I'm going to the churches. I'm going to I'm going even the prisons where they got diabetes in there. I'm going every place I can, to the schools, to the elementary schools, and to get the information out there. And so when I walked into the convention floor in Washington D.C., I went, these people are not trying to cure diabetes. It's too much money in this. And people like you come along and say, I got a plan for it, if you're willing to go through the plan and you really willing to change your lifestyle. I mean, diabetes. Last time I looked at it, it said that the diabetes in industry, not the diabetes industry, is a 385 billion dollar industry. They're not trying to
Yeah,
cure anything.
billion.
There's no money in a cure. You know how much I have to pay for my diabetes, my insulin, not my insulin, but for my test strips, and my Lancets, and I got to get a new meter, every now and then, and I got to stay up on different things. And I've got all those magazines that you were talking about. Took them to my
Mhm.
endocrinologist, and I said, I'm sure you've read these. And what about this? And she was like, I have not read them. I simply had a lot of them are not up to date on what is
No,
really going on in the transition. So it's like, are we fighting a losing battle? Look, that one of my endocrinologists came and told me, said, well, Mother Love, you just need to go on insulin. I said, well, I don't want to go on insulin. What you talking about? I don't want to go on insulin. Everybody in my family was on insulin. I don't. What else can I do? He said, it's not going to matter because you're going to be just like everybody else. I said, what do you mean? He said, most fat black women don't follow the diabetes protocol. Okay, who had to pick her face up off the floor? I said, and he said that right to my face. Most big fat black women will not follow the protocol. And I said, it's a good thing I'm not most fat black women. Thank you very much. Excuse me. Next time he saw me, I was in the middle of my weight loss transition, and he really didn't recognize me. He said, you sound just like Mother Love. I'm like, you know what, David? It is Mother Love. He goes, oh, you look amazing. I'm like, well, and I'm still not on insulin. And he could have bit a brick. He was just outdone. But and I found out this too. When a person is a proactive contributor in their own best health care, the doctors and nurses will take better care of you because they know that you care. When you don't care, they kind of throw up their hands too. Since you didn't throw up your hands, and I don't think that's gonna be that's not the smart thing to do. So,
I agree.
it's always a pleasure to chat with you. I just love that to pieces. So again, tell them how they can get in touch with you. And now, do you have a program that people can join it as a group, or is this all individually done?
We have challenges that we put on, and then we have individual stuff. I would just say we have a free quiz. Like, go to the website at dietfreelife.com,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see a link. Just take the free quiz, and then that'll give us information, and then we'll reach out to you and give you some recommendations.
Oh, cool. So you work in tandem with the do you work with clinics and hospitals, or this is something that people can introduce? You can introduce this to them. Do you talk to people in the
Absolutely.
clinics and the
We work
hospitals?
with everybody from insurance companies, clinics, churches, anyone who has a congregation or constituents that want to be healthier,
Mhm.
then we have something for them.
That's really cool. So now, how would the churches get in touch with you? Because this is Diabetes Month, and I know they're already calling me to come and present at different churches and what have you, in church services.
Mhm.
So I want to be able to let them know about my friend Robert Ferguson and the great
Yeah,
work
well,
that
right
he
now, like with churches, what I do is we do it. Most of them will do a Zoom,
Mhm. Okay.
and so when the pandemic hit, everybody became very
Zoomer.
familiar with Zoom. So I'll just chime in on a Tuesday night or a Thursday, whenever it works, and just answer questions, give a little presentation.
Mhm.
It's a give back to me, and
Mhm.
if people are wanting to receive, then it's a win-win.
Now, do you do cooking demonstrations at some of your events?
Absolutely,
Okay, see, that's when you know it's good.
yeah.
And I
Oh
remember
yeah.
I have my slamming black and salmon salad, and people say, "I don't like salmon. It tastes like fish." It is fish. And then they'll go, "This is really good, Mother Love. What do you think? I'm just gonna bring you some crap and have my name on it." No, and I cook like I said, I cook all the time. Are you cooking for Thanksgiving? What time is dinner?
Oh yeah, we're
I'm
definitely eating
asking,
some good things.
what time is dinner at the Ferguson house?
Well, I will be in Indiana at my mom's
Oh,
house.
you done just went to the top of the food chain.
Oh yeah, so I'll be at my mom's house, and we're gonna eat great. We're gonna eat really good food,
Mhm.
and it's just a matter of learning how to combine the food,
So
and that's what we teach
and
people.
that's what's important because like I was taught that you make your food, you make your plate like a clock, and you put like from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock is your vegetables, make whatever it is that you making them, and then from like 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock you have your protein, and then you have your carbs. And you had mentioned this earlier in the conversation about fast carbs and slow carbs. So slow carbs are the ones that we ought to be eating that takes a longer to digest, but they fill us up more. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, slow carbs would be mostly like vegetable-based foods, broccoli,
Mhm,
asparagus, collard greens, leafy greens, and then
mhm.
fast carbs would be like potatoes, um, bread, pasta,
Rice.
rice, foods
Mhm.
that are typically higher in starch. compared to
Mhm.
foods that are low in starch.
Now, one of the things I do is when I do cook rice and potatoes, I always wash them till the water is clean. And you would be surprised at how cloudy that water can get. And that starch that you're
Mhm.
taking off of those, and I'm thinking it's, I won't be ingesting them because it's going down the drain. And that okay, you said you had a burger and your daughter had a shake and you didn't have any other thing on there. So do you ever cheat?
Well, there's no cheat because I'm a diet-free life,
Oh, hey,
right?
come.
So there's no need to cheat
You don't have to.
because right, because we know how to eat whatever we wanna eat in a way
Mhm.
that gets us results.
And what about portion control?
Portions are important. I mean, you can eat pizza, you
Mhm,
just don't eat the whole pizza by yourself. It's learning how to eat the right amount of foods and combine the foods when possible in
mhm,
a way that helps you optimize 2 things: glucose, which you totally get,
mhm.
and insulin, which is what most of the world is not fully aware of yet.
But they're getting there. You said they're
They're
getting there.
getting there,
It's a slow
but
process.
it's gonna be a very long process. I mean, if we're lucky, we will get to see it in the next 20 years. I doubt it because so many things are moving so fast.
Mhm,
You got a lot of food that's being grown in labs now. You have the big push, like you said. There's what 33 million people that are type 2 diabetic in America. You have about 90 million that are pre-diabetic and don't know it. And it's getting worse. It's been getting worse ever since I got into this business in
to
1995.
make it
It's just
better.
constantly, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
And I'm gonna do everything that I can, like you are doing everything that you can. I want to thank you so much for joining us today and every Tuesday in November, except the week of Thanksgiving. We're gonna hear from Robert Ferguson and Diet Free Life. You don't have to diet, you got just have to learn how to eat. Thank you so much, sir.
No,
You
thank
have a
you.
great one, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Okay.
Peace and blessings, my brother.
All right.
Told you he was
Bye-bye.
cool. Oh, and he's single too.
That's
Okay,
right.
shit. If you want his number, give me a call.